Hello and welcome along to this bonus episode of Snack Break, the perfect podcast pop on while preparing your cup of tea or ideal snack or beverage. Well, it's over again. It's over. Yes, the Eurovision Song Contest 2026 has reached its grand finale in really quite an epic conclusion. So in this episode, this bonus episode of Snack Break, we're just going to be having a little chat about some of my favourite bits from the show itself, some of my favourite songs from this year's contestants, and of course, the eventual outcome of the show, which, if you don't know, spoiler alert, you should probably move away from this podcast because we are going to be talking about that in depth. These are just really some quick thoughts about the show itself. So without further ado, I think it's probably best to start with sort of overall thoughts. So on the whole, 70th anniversary of the Eurovision Song Contest. I thought it was a really, really good show. Another hugely entertaining Eurovision. It was just a wonderful celebration of Eurovision. I'd sort of expect them in a way to do a little bit more with regards to the 70 years of Eurovision, but they actually intertwined it in a very pleasant way, which allowed them to mix it with the proceedings of the normal competition without having too much extra "we're 70, yeah" stuff in there. And the music, the halfway show, the midtime show, if you will, was really, I think, the best example of that. And they did a really lovely tribute that sort of shows all the aspects of Eurovision, all the different bits and bobs. And they did it. They sort of had a classic, for those who weren't aware, they had classics, being Eurovision classics throughout the years being redone by Eurovision artists and former winners, and Eurovision legends, even if they're not winners, actual winners of the competition, being redone by other Eurovision artists. So I thought that was a really, really fun way to pay tribute to the show, to Eurovision as a whole. As for the show itself, my favorite performances were Malta with Bella, which in the end really didn't do amazingly well. It came out at 18th. I thought that would do a little bit better than it did. I wasn't expecting it to win, but a bit disappointed that didn't get quite as high as it maybe was. It wasn't quite such quite a loud and intense songs perhaps some of the others were, and I'm not saying that the others don't deserve their place. I'm not saying that they got there because of loudness. I'm just saying it was a bit more of a laid back song on the whole. I thought there was really nice staging for it. I thought the guy doing it sung really well. I believe it was him who was Malta. I believe Malta was the guy whose his lifelong dream was to represent Malta at Eurovision. So I thought he did incredibly well. That was their song Bella. Really, really like that. And the code, in my opinion, that came out sort of around the halfway mark. That was 16th. So could have seen that maybe doing a little bit higher. I wasn't quite sure whether that would be something that we'd see even more of, especially since those patterns of quite operatic performances have done well in the past few competitions. But in the end, did seem to get slightly lost under some of the others. Still really liked it as a song though. Bangarang, Bulgaria. I had that down as one I enjoyed. We'll talk about that later. And then we had Moldova, which were incredibly fun. Viva Moldova. Moldova is on duty. That was just really, really liked. Very, very good. Really, really like that. From Moldova. Really, really like that. It was just good fun. It was really, really enjoyable. It's something a little bit different. That actually came out very, very well on the whole. Just between Denmark and Ukraine, that came in 8th place. I hadn't actually realised quite in the haze of almost midnight last night. I hadn't realised that done quite so well. So fair play to them. And as they said in the commentary a few nights ago, I believe it was Angela Scallon and Rylan who said, that's going to be on every Moldovan airline in no time at all. Then we had Finland. I'd actually expected that to do a little bit better than it did. I had that as a potential winner. Again, they did say during Graham Norton's Eurovision commentary, the bookies predicted this one, but they always get close, but they don't always quite get the winner. That came 6th. Had maybe expect that to be a few places up. It was a non-English speaking song, but still really, really liked that. I thought that was great. Then, just above that, we have what was really my favourite, Italy. Italy was just great. Italy was an unbelievable vibe. That song was called Per Sempre Si from Sal Da Vinci. And this guy was describing the commentary. Sorry, I've just clicked on his Spotify. Yeah, he's posing. He's in a black suit against a white backdrop. He's just cool. He's the oldest performer at the competition this year at 57 years of age. And he's just a cool guy. He was describing the commentary as sort of the Mariah Carey wedding type character of Italian music. And I thought he was great. He was really, really good. It was a bit more laid back staging. Again, some of my criticism of Eurovision, for all the glitz and glamour of it that I do love, some of my criticism with regards to it for the past few years has sort of been that like we've got a bit too far with the staging. Let's just take it back a few years and we can all calm down a bit and our eyes won't hurt so much. But no, I thought this was really nice, quite laid back staging. Quite a lot still going on stage, but quite a change in a way, a marked change from a lot of the light and intensity of it in that regard. So I really, really liked it. Just upbeat, fun. Didn't understand any of the words because I don't speak Italian, but I got the gist of what he was going for and they told a really nice little story on stage. So I have to say, big fan of that. That's probably my winner for the year, my favourite for the year, maybe just about Finland even. That came 5th place. They were using, whenever they interviewed him, there was sort of slightly perhaps awkward interactions because they had to use a translator to speak to him. I don't think he spoke much English from what I got, or any English at all. I don't really know. But this guy was just a vibe. He was so funny. It just looked like he was having the time of his life performing. So Sal Da Vinci, you're a winner in my heart. Then Lithuania was quite creepy, a little bit different. They ended up doing not that well, 22nd. Ironically, the reason he painted himself in silver was because he's coming second. And, 22nd, sort of there. And they got 22 points. It all works out. Wow, what are the chances? 2. The man loves 2. 2. So anyway, I'm going off the rails here. Anyway, I thought that was a really fun performance. It was just kept things flowing very nicely throughout. A lot of different stuff going on. Bit creepy, but a bit of that's fun at Eurovision. So I did really, really like that. Boy George was also in the semi-finals. I don't know why Boy George was at the semi-finals. It was fun. Boy George was performed for San Marino, who didn't make the finale, but just fun. Boy George was in Eurovision now. And then, obviously, the winner, Bulgaria. I have to say, I did like it as a song. I thought it was very different staging to all of the others. Actually, sort of gave me quite slight TVA vibes from Loki with regards to the staging. You didn't really, at least for a lot of the performance, see the actual surrounding stadium. So it was certainly a different take on the staging, and actually on the staging as a whole this year. I thought that just the way that it was laid out, you had that lovely sort of musical note design going around the edge of things, and you also just, every performance felt like it was staged very differently, whilst obviously using a lot of the same technological architecture they'd put into place in the stadium. So I thought it was definitely one of the most inventive staging choices with regards to the technological side of things and how they position that so that lots of acts can do lots of different things. Thought that was really, really good. Certainly one of the best in quite a few years, in my opinion. But yes, Bulgaria. The more I think about it, the more I can see why they won. They were described in the semi-final BBC commentary as being quite Charlie XCX, and I have to say I didn't quite see it at first, but in many ways, in all the ways, I can definitely see it now. It's got that catchiness. It's got a fun little spice of Eurovision. Apparently, the artist is sort of somewhat existing within Bulgaria. I don't know the Bulgarian music scene particularly much, so I don't really know. They got 516 points overall, so really quite a landslide victory. And they had a great dance routine going on, a very charismatic star, great song, really, really catchy. So I can definitely see why they won, and Bulgaria's first time winning Eurovision, so very, very well deserved. Intriguingly, regardless of what you think about the Israel-Gaza conflict, Israel did come second with 343 points. A lot of booing in the stadium, so make of that what you will. One thing I would, after the show as a whole, again, really, really fun. The presenters were a bit of a different breed this year. They were good fun. It was just a different... I want them to start barking on stage. Honestly, I can't wait to see the clip highlights that are going to be going out on YouTube for the next year about these two, because it was just fun. This guy just starts barking at one point. I have no clue why. But anyway, he was barking, so that was good fun. Presenters were certainly fun. Yep. And then something I have to say, not so happy about. I did spot a bit of AI going on. ChatGPT, to quote old Bojo. I believe, let me just get this straight. Now, I haven't seen any official confirmation of this, but people on r/Eurovision, chain-link fencing's put up a post on the Eurovision subreddit that's now got 62 comments, and they've screenshot the things. It's very, very clear. During the Professor Eurovision segment, there was a sort of loosely anime-inspired animated sequence for explaining the voting that was clearly all done with using AI-generated imagery. And that come from the EBU itself, as they say in that post. I have to say, I do find that very disappointing. Apparently, the Ferto music video, I also caught onto that, I caught onto the Ferto music video as well as maybe having used AI for its backdrops. And yeah, again, it does. More people are picking up on it. I sort of had to at least a double take with that one where I was like, is that AI? It looks a little bit too AI clean. And yeah, lo and behold, it was. And just disappointing that we've got that for the voting sequence. I know it's a small part in the larger competition, and obviously creativity on the whole is still such an integral part, and human creativity just shines throughout all of Eurovision. So I don't want to draw the focus away from that and go, they used AI. And I am annoyed about that, don't get me wrong, but I think on the whole, hopefully they'll cut that out next year. We'll see. And it just seems, in my opinion, sort of against a lot of the spirit by Mark Savage, the music correspondent and for Eurovision Song Contest, and with additional reporting by, I believe, Newsbeat's Pete Allison. So anyway, they brought up a variety of different reasons as to what's going on here? Why are we doing so badly at Eurovision? And I have to say, I really do feel like we've sent a real variety of stuff over the last few years. We've tried big stars in Ollie Alexander. We've tried less well-known stars in, to a degree, I guess, Look Mum No Computer did have that social media backing, perhaps not quite to the degree that Sam Ryder did, but we've had less well-known stars with regards to Remember Monday and Mae Muller, and we've had very different types of songs between these years, very different compositions of songs, different gender compositions, we've had groups and we've had non-groups, or we've had one group, I guess, and very different staging and just very different attitude to the competition every year. And I would have thought out of all of them, as I said, I believe this was our best performance in a few years. I thought Remember Monday were also very good last year, but I did think this was our best so far, in my opinion, just with regard to the performance as a whole. And I thought this would win a few more points at Eurovision. It seemed like it was going to tick all the boxes, but apparently not. There are so many suggestions as to, mentioned in this article, as to why it could be that this just isn't landing. There's obviously the geopolitical side of things, which, again, I think you could argue has been partially disproven by the Sam Ryder argument that we give a really good song, and if we promote it really well, and if we just have a great song that's just going all in on it, then we can do it. But it's anything less than something that's getting us almost to the top of the leaderboard, across the second place, seems to be straight back down to nil point. So the geopolitical thing is, again, very, very complex, and I don't know how we combat that. Again, just a really, really good song seems to be the argument. One of the most interesting points, in my opinion, that I saw in there is the argument that the UK just aren't taking it seriously enough, and that we do need to send more recognisable stars. Now, Ollie Alexander obviously is our biggest star to have been sent for the last little while, and just didn't make a winner in that case for Eurovision, sadly. But I think we do have so many big stars, and as I said, I think a lot of the less well-known stars have equally done very, very well for Eurovision. But if we could get a massive UK star going in there and just, apparently, it's been suggested that there's arguably an observation that the UK don't take Eurovision very seriously, and that people just need to drop the prejudices. And if we could send one of our massive stars, if we could send a Lily Allen, if we could send a Harry Styles, if we could send an Olivia Dean, if we could send a Ray, if we could send a Ed Sheeran, if we could send Paul McCartney, any of these really, really big stars, and just put our hat in there. Again, I don't think many people are happy to take the risk, but I do have to wonder what decisions are being and what discussions are being had in that board to where they're deciding who we're putting into Eurovision. And I can only hope they are shooting those big shots, because, as I said, I think, the less well-known stars have done as well as the well-known stars in the last few years. I just think if we could get a really big one in there and just go all out, then that would be wonderful. Again, it doesn't really feel like the press coverage has been quite there for our Eurovision contribution since Sam Ryder, but I don't know. It seems to be an impossible balance to strike, and with suggestions that after Finland's last victory, they had a 10-year slump, I'm beginning to worry that we could have more to go. But as always, we will be optimistic and we will hope for next year. Hopefully the desperation is there by this point, and that sort of ironically our last victory is, or sort of, well, not even victory, our last big performance is far enough back in people's memory that they'll be desperate again and will want to just go all out on promoting an act and getting one that just really, really wants to win. Make it clear we want to win. Just be like, yeah, we want to win, and we're giving this our all. So I have really no suggestions at this point, as you can probably tell from my endless blabbering with regards to what we can do at this point. But if you do have suggestions, you can email those to us at hwsnapbreakpodcast@gmail.com, or drop your comments down below in the Spotify or YouTube comments section. Thank you very much for listening to this special episode of Snap Break. Have a nice, this has been Hung Cap Hour production. Eurovision Train Chase, like, this is over. Thank you very much for listening. See you soon. Stay safe. Bye.